Okay, another old card trick. This is a real fooler, but this is a lot of fun. This is what you can do with your spectators. Say we're going to use a pretty mixed up deck here. In fact, we'll get a little bit more mixed up just to be safe. And we're going to do something that's really kind of, I guess you could say, scientifically different. Because I'm going to not only read your mind, I'm actually going to read the mind of the deck, so to speak. Okay. So what I want you to do is I want you to select a card out of the middle of this shuffled deck, and I can go like this, and they can slide one out, or we can do one of these if you want to. Just say stop. Doesn't matter. So just for the sake of this video, let's just take one out. So they're going to go like this. They're going to take a card out. Now, let me just tell you that you don't need to see the card. You won't, as the magician, you won't see the card. You won't know the card until it's actually revealed. But I'm going to show you in this video, so you know how this works. That's the card they would be memorizing. You would not know that card. You say to them, I want to explain to you something very simple about a deck of cards, and that is the concept of cutting cards. So I'd like you to take your card and place it on the top of the deck. They'll do that. Now, do you remember your card? That's really important too. They will. Now, if you were to cut the deck, your card would no longer be where we know it is, on the top of the deck. So go ahead and cut. Just cut wherever you want to, halfway down, a third of the way down, whatever you want, and they'll do that. Just go ahead and complete the cut. Now, would you agree your chosen card, the one you've memorized, is somewhere in the middle of the deck? It's not on the top. It's not on the bottom. We can see that. Not on the bottom. It's somewhere in the middle of the deck, because something happens when you cut the cards. What I'd like you to do is, let's lose it again. Cut the cards again. So you'll have them do that. They'll cut the cards. You say, okay, now, would you agree that you freely chose a card? You put it in the deck, cut it a couple times, and it's lost somewhere in the middle. Is that true? It is true, isn't it? Okay, what I want you to do is I want you to concentrate on that card. I don't know what it is, but you do. I want you to think about what that card is. I'm going to try and pick it out of your mind, and I want to see where the deck says your card is. I'm going to get a number. I'm going to read your mind, and I'm going to read the deck. I'm going to figure out where your card is in the deck. I'm picking up the number 2. Actually, a very low number, the number 2. I don't know if that means anything to you, but you're thinking of a particular card. Let's do this. Let's count down 2 cards. 1 and 2. Came up with this card right here. What was the card that you were thinking of? Oh, the Queen of Hearts. Now that's amazing. Okay, so let me show you how that works, because this is a really, really clever trick, and it plays out a little bit differently. There are lots of different ways you can do this. First of all, it's an old trick. Again, I changed this. I always take old tricks and change them completely differently. I made this a little more complicated on purpose because it hides the secret better. Okay, and I can explain that later. But for now, let me just tell you how it works. What we have here is sort of a miniature stack. Part of the deck is stacked, but only 13 cards. The rest of it is shuffled. The stack part is at the bottom of the deck. When we go face up like that, this is the bottom of the deck. And the cards are in this order. They're ace through king. Where is it? Ace through king. Whoops, got one out of order right there. Okay, so what we need to set this up is an ace through king stack. I'm also only using 2 suits. I'm using the red cards are all odd, and the red cards are all diamonds. Okay, so you got to kind of memorize this. I've got odd diamonds and even clubs. The even cards, the black cards, are all even. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, queen of clubs, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, jack, king of diamonds. Now, I'll explain to you why this is really important to do and why this is better. The original version of this trick used all one suit, all one color, like for example, you know, the ace or king of hearts, and it had them in a reverse order, which made it easier to do, but it was a little more obvious. So I've done it this way, and I'll explain to you in a minute why this is better. Okay, so just for the sake of setup, you want odd diamonds, even clubs, ace through king. That goes to the bottom of the packet. Okay, now the shuffling was some semi-false, and you can do lots of different false shuffles. So I just need to retain those 13 cards at the bottom. So I was doing one of these where I really am mixing the top half of the deck, and at some point I just threw these back into place while I'm talking. Don't draw a lot of attention to it. You can do it this way, and then just go like this, and then go on to another cut, and that can be a false cut, This is a false cut. Bring it from the bottom, tap it like this. I just put the cards back in order, but if you do it while you're talking, it just looks like you're cutting. Another one a little more complicated is kind of a triple false cut like this. If you know how to do that or want to learn how to do that, I think I got a video about that somewhere. But anyway, you can just do, and you can even do a sort of shuffle, you know, sort of a sloppy pharaoh shuffle like this. Just the sound of this sounds like the cards are being shuffled. And of course I retained those 13 cards when I did this. I went like this and made sure that I'm keeping those cards in place. Okay, so all that being said, you want to do kind of a shuffle, but you say to them, doesn't matter, because you're going to pull a card out of the middle of the deck, which they're going to do. And you can do that any way you want to. You can do one of these, as long as they pick a card past that stack somewhere in the middle. You can do one of these. If you're not at a table, you can even do this, whatever you want to do. So here's how it works. When they take a card out of the deck, you don't need to know what it is. It's important that you reassemble the deck back into its original position, though, because we want that stack on the bottom. If this is working right, you'll have a king of diamonds on the bottom. And they'll memorize this card. You won't know what it is. In this case, we're going to use a 9 of hearts for this tutorial. Okay, so they'll be remembering 9 of hearts. I like to slow down a little bit here and explain the concept of cutting. Because what happens is, when they put a card on here, some might say, now we know where your card is. It's on the top of the deck. But I want you to change that by cutting the cards, and that's what they'll do. Now, you say, now we don't know where your card is. We know it's not on the top. And, in fact, we don't know what's on the bottom. That's an important line to say, because what we want to do is turn these cards face up. It's important that we turn the deck face up to complete this trick. And I just gave myself a reason for it, because I'm going to say, let's see if it's on the bottom. Obviously, your card's not on the bottom. Now, here's where the trick can go a couple of different ways. What you want them to do is cut the deck. When they cut the deck, you're going to have them stop cutting until they hit, until what's showing on the bottom of the deck, right here, we're looking for either an odd diamond or an even club. Remember, our stack was odd diamonds and even clubs, and they're in a particular order, right? So if they go like this and they cut and they get to an odd club, that's not going to work. We want odd diamonds, even clubs. Say, look, go ahead and complete the cut. You'll notice now there's a new card on the bottom, because every time you cut the deck, it changes. Go ahead, try it again. You can do this as many times as you want to and make it interesting and fun, but at some point when they cut the deck, see, now you've got a 2 of spades. Try it again. Or if you want to mix it up, say, now I'll try it. See what happens when I do it. Okay, I got another check, 2 of hearts. Now you try it. At some point, you're going to come to, and you saw in the demonstration it happened the first time, and often when I practice this, it only takes 1 or 2 cuts to do this. But at some point, you're going to end up like this. I just got to an even club. Now we're done cutting, okay? If it takes too long, just make something funny out of it. Say, no, I want to make sure it's really mixed up, and I want to make sure it's, cut down 1/3 this time, cut down 3/4 so this time, cut down 27%, or whatever you want to do to get them to keep cutting and make that interesting. But at some point, they will land on either an odd diamond or even club. And once they do, you're set. Now, I'm at an even club. I'm going to do a little math. Because the odd diamonds and even clubs in that stack are in order, their card, which was placed on the top of the deck, and the stack was at the bottom of the deck, remember, they met, right? When they first cut the deck, their card ended up at the end of that stack. So now I know with a 10, which is an even club, I now know where their card is in the deck. The way I know is because I'm going to take the difference between 10 and 14, which is 4, and that's going to tell me their card is the 4th one in the deck now. So we turn it back over and say, now it's my job to find your card again. I don't know what their card is. What I do know is where it is. It's now the 4th card, right? Because if we count these, we want to put these face down. That's kind of important. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and we get to their card, the 9 of hearts, okay? So let's talk a little bit about why that happens, why that works. That works because this stack ends up like this. So remember, their card, the 9 of hearts, is on top. Here's my stack, ace through king. When they cut the deck, their card ends up next to that king of diamonds every time. Then all we're doing is we're looking to keep cutting the cards until we dig into that stack. There again is an even club. So now I'm in the stack, and that's where I want to be because their card is within the stack. It's next to the king of diamonds. But this number tells me which position their card is in. Since I'm looking at a 4, and I do the math, the difference between 4 and 14 is 10. I know their card is 10 down, okay? So we count 10 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We can put these back. We can say, what was your card? Of course, it'll be the 9 of hearts. So the reason why I like this so much, and again, the original, whoops, I want to make sure we get this in the right order for some reason. Okay, so here's our stack. Ace through king. The original had, like I said, had all the same suit, and they went like this, ace through king this way, so that when you cut to a heart, like if you had all hearts, the idea of cutting, you cut to a heart, if you cut to the 4 of hearts, their cards are going to be the 4th one down. I didn't like those numbers matching. If you cut to the 9 of hearts, their cards are going to be the 9th one down. I don't want to draw attention to those numbers being the same, so I reversed it. So we have to do a little math. That's why I made it a little more complicated, but better. So when they're cutting the cards and they cut to, either an even club or an odd diamond, you know how to do the math. So if they cut to the 9 of diamonds, you stop right there. You know that you're going to do a little bit of math. It's going to be, the card's going to be in the 5th position because of 9 plus 5. Okay, so that's that trick. Now, to do this really well, you do want to have some false shuffles. You don't want to just take the deck out and go for it. Although you have an excuse, you can say it doesn't really matter because, and you can fan the cards this way, just don't spread these out in case they notice that order. But since they are, odd, even, they might not, but you can say, oh, the cards look pretty shuffled, but let's just shuffle them up. But you do have an excuse and say, well, you're going to pull a card out of the middle anyway. But it's not a bad idea to know how to at least mix them up a little bit. If you take a small packet off and do this sort of little kind of riffle shuffle, the sound of this alone subconsciously tells them the deck is shuffled. And it is, it's just the bottom portion is not. And while you're talking, you can do some false cuts. You want to keep everything in the right order. What I just did right there while I was talking is a completely bold false cut, but it works. I'm just doing a swing cut, going like this, and then doing it again and putting it right back. Another bold false cut is to take it off the bottom, tap it like this, go like that. Another false cut. A complicated one is to do this thing. Okay, I won't teach that in this video, but if you know how to do like a triple false cut, it puts the cards right back in order. And again, the easy one, and probably a pretty good one, is to do this while you're talking. As long as you keep that bottom portion, then you can change your position and say something else and throw that bottom portion back onto the bottom of the deck. Okay, so a couple of false cuts, false shuffles, whatever you want to do, not too hard to do, and then let them take a card out of the middle of the deck, and then just do your math. As soon as they cut to a card in your stack, just do the number 14 math, and you've got it. It's an astounding trick, really. It's quite a twist on an old one. I think makes it much better. Really cool trick. Very amazing. I hope you enjoy it.